One of the best ways to set yourself up for success or failure as a plant parent is choosing the correct pot or planter for your houseplant. This is a step that I don't hear spoken about that often, yet it is critical in helping make sure that your plant does not get root rot and thrives. In this episode of my Houseplant Care 101 series, I'm going to be sharing some simple steps that will set you up for success when it comes to choosing the correct pot for your plant. I always like to choose a type of plant to use as a demonstration in each of my care series episodes. So today I'm going to be using Anthurium. I haven't used Anthurium yet in any of my demonstrations, and I have been dying to. Even though I've chosen to use Anthurium in my demonstration today, all of the information that I'm sharing is relevant to any houseplant. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Ashley, and as you can see, I am a crazy plant person and proud. So if that brings a smile to your face, make sure to subscribe so that future episodes will show up in your news feed. And we have a really fabulous plant community on Instagram that we would love for you to be part of. I would not be doing this series if it wasn't for our amazing partner, rePotme.com. They have offered a discount code for Plant Life with Ashley and Nita viewers. It's Ashley, and you get 10% off any potting soil, which theirs are my absolute favorite. They're the only ones I use now. I don't have to mix any of my own soils anymore, so they're great.
rePotme.com is dedicated to providing quality plant care products. They specialize in products for houseplants, orchids, succulents, African violets, and more. I love their incredible potting soils and mediums found in their new houseplant section because they're all such terrific quality. Also in this houseplant section, they have soil specifically for certain plants like monstera, snake plants, philodendrons, pothos, peace lilies, and more. Their pots and planters are also a favorite of mine for my plants. They have beautiful decorative planters, and they also have their original rePotme designed pots like the slotted orchid pots and oxygen core duo pots, and they really help create the perfect environment for growing. They're also well known for their gold standard plant fertilizers, pest prevention options, grow lights, care tips, and more. I've included their website in my description below so you can take a look at their quality plant care products. And use code ASHLEY for 10% off any of their amazing potting soils.
Anthurium are so incredibly beautiful. You have your ones that you can find in your local big box shops, and then you have your more rare and uncommon Anthurium. So they really have become a favorite plant of mine. And like with most of these plants that we have, they're tropical plants, and it's really important to get the right planter that meets their needs. If you're like me, you've probably heard people absolutely swear by using either terracotta or plastic or ceramic, and I have to say, it really depends around your care schedule. So are you the type of plant parent that is like me? I'm an underwaterer, so I wait until the very last minute to when I have to water my plants, so they're usually a little thirsty. Or are you the type of plant parent that loves going around and watering your plants? You know, you really enjoy that care routine. It's so relaxing to you. So you find yourself where you're watering your plant very regularly so they don't spend much time thirsty. This is the information that will help you choose the right planter. Again, it's not around the plant, it's around your care schedule. If you're the type of plant parent that does a really good job at staying on top of watering your plants, they don't go thirsty for any period of time, and your main concern is the soil becoming oversaturated because you are on top of your watering, I would recommend, or you may want to consider, a couple different options. The first of all being a terracotta pot. Now, terracotta is a very porous substance and type of porous material, so it actually will wick away extra moisture. It does a really great job at preventing your plant from becoming oversaturated. I know a lot of people will use these for their cacti, succulents, but it's also great for, you know, anthuriums or philodendrons if you're prone to watering a lot, because most of our indoor plants don't want to be sitting, well, I'd say almost all of our indoor plants don't want to be sitting in saturated soil. So terracotta is a great option. Another fantastic option that is one of my favorites is using a nursery pot that has a lot of drainage. If you're like me, I like to use nursery pots inside of other pots so that I can have the decorated planter that I love, and I can just kind of move my plants around, or also like the clear ones so that I can keep an eye on the roots and see if there is root rot, see if it needs to be repotted, that kind of thing. Now these are awesome. I can't talk about them enough. They are on the rePotme website, but these are their slotted orchid pots. These are the best nursery pots that I have found out there. And they come in all different sizes and colors and packs of multiple ones from the website. I'll be including all of the links below for you guys. I would just say with any kind of nursery pot that you choose, just make sure there is a ton of drainage. The drainage will really help allow airflow into the plant, allow the extra water to escape. So if you're like me and you're an underwaterer and that you wait until the very last minute to water your plants, your soil tends to stay dried out for a period of time, you may want to consider a plastic or a ceramic type of planter. This will just help the soil retain some of that moisture for a little bit longer and not wick away the moisture quite as quickly as maybe a terracotta. I'm going to go a little bit more into drainage, but just make sure that if you do end up going with a plastic or a ceramic planter, that there is really good drainage so that the soil doesn't stay too saturated and cause root rot on your plant. I would say when choosing a planter, the most important part is choosing the correct size. If you are looking at repotting your plant, if you're sure that the soil is compact with roots, there's no more room for the roots to grow, and you want to size up, sizing up 1 to 2 sizes or 1 to 2 inches is the max I would go. To keep it simple, when you are choosing a new planter, you actually want to get a pot that does not have a lot of extra room for the roots. You just want to have that extra 1 or 2 inches to allow some room for the roots to grow, but you don't want to have a ton of excess soil around the roots when you repot it. If you end up getting a planter that's far too large and your planter ends up being full of soil and not roots, when you water that plant, those roots aren't going to be able to absorb all of that moisture in the soil, and those roots are just going to end up sitting in saturated, wet soil, and that's very, very likely to cause root rot. Now, sometimes you may find a planter that's absolutely perfect for your space, but it's just too big. What I do in that case is I plant my pot in a correct size nursery pot, and then I just have the plant in a nursery pot and I put that into the perfect planter that I found. And you can maybe put something underneath it to elevate it if you need to, but you know that that plant is not going to be susceptible to root rot because it actually is in the correct planter. Next up is drainage, and I cannot stress enough how important drainage is on a planter. In my opinion, you can't have too much drainage. I've found so many beautiful planters that I absolutely love, but they only have one little drainage hole on the bottom. I don't know why that's the case for a lot of these planters, but there are some very, very simple solutions. Now, if it is terracotta, with a terracotta pot, even if it just has one little drainage hole in the bottom, that's usually fine, I'd say, as long as there's at least one drainage hole, because it's wicking, moisture wicking, it's a porous material, so chances are, it's not going to develop root rot on the plant because it's not going to be sitting in super saturated soil usually. But if it is plastic and ceramic, that is a problem. So some of the simple things that I've seen people do, and I've done myself, is just getting a drill bit and drilling holes in the bottom of the planter. That's not my favorite thing to do. I prefer using a nursery pot, and I know I talked about this a little bit already, but I find nursery pots to meet all of my needs when it comes to a planter, and I love that I can always find the perfect size one. It's draining, it's awesome. So what I do is I use these and I just put it into the cache pot or the nursery pot that maybe doesn't have any drainage holes or just 1 or 2, and it's perfect. And I like that I can kind of decorate with it and move my plants around, and I can have fun with it and not feel pressured like I need to repot my plant all the time if I want to switch up planters or anything like that. That's just really stressful for the plant as well. I also really enjoy bottom watering my plants, but I don't like to bottom water all of them together mashed up in the tub where all the leaves touch each other, and it increases the chances of pest spreading if there are pests. And if they are in their individual cache pots, then I just can water that way. And it just makes my life a lot more simple, especially since I have a lot of plants. Now, if you're curious about bottom watering, top watering, I do get questions anytime I mention it. I've done a whole episode on it. It's short, like my other plant care series episodes, and it just talks about all the benefits of bottom watering, top watering, all that good stuff. I'll include it here and also in my description if you're interested in learning more about that. But again, the most important point with any of your houseplants and whatever type of planter you're using, whether it's terracotta, ceramic, or plastic, is to make sure there is good drainage so that there's not just airflow to the plant, but that the water can easily escape the planter. Any excess water can escape and help prevent your plant from developing root rot. So it's very important to note that even if you pick the absolute perfect planter that has everything that I've talked about in this episode, if you have the wrong soil, it's going to hold too much moisture and it will cause root rot on your plant. Most of our indoor plants are going to be much more at risk of developing root rot with a regular potting mix. Now, as far as soil, it really comes down to what you're comfortable with doing. If you're comfortable with mixing your own soil, that's a great option because you can work with kind of any potting mix that you have already. Now, if you like to mix your own soil, I would say to make sure you have at least 50% either orchid bark or perlite or pumice mixed in if you're using like a regular potting mix that doesn't have much chunky bits in there. There are so many different options out there for soil, what works around your budget and what is most convenient for you. I love the rePotme soils. They are incredible. They have a whole house plant section on their website that they have soil for philodendrons, soil for peace lilies, soil for monstera, soil for cacti and succulents, and it's all really good quality. So I don't have to mix my soil anymore. I just use what they have. They have different size bags if you want to like try out a small bag and see if you like it, but they're great. You can get 10% off with code Ashley. But like I said, there's lots of wonderful soil options out there. Again, whatever works best for you. This is just what I'm loving right now. And I've had a lot of success with it, so I feel very comfortable recommending them, and hence why I'm partnered with them, because I love them. Another option that I use that's not soil is sphagnum moss, and I love using sphagnum moss as well, actually. This is an Anthurium that has been struggling a little bit. It was in a terrible container. It was in a glass one that don't ever do that. So it needed more airflow. I've just watered, as you can see. And it's draining really well because it's in one of my favorite nursery pots from rePotme. And you can see the roots. I don't know if you can tell, but the roots are doing really, really well. And it's in the sphagnum moss, so it gets a ton of airflow. It's very, very easy, and I just fertilize it when I water it. And yeah, so sphagnum moss is a great choice as well. So this is actually a decorative pot that I found on rePotme that I really like. So those are my top suggestions and tips to keep in mind when you are choosing a planter for your plant. I love it when you guys leave comments and suggestions on these Houseplant Care 101 series. It's so helpful, not just to me, but for everyone else watching these videos. So that is very much appreciated. Any of your tips and suggestions. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing if you want to see future Plant Life with Ashley episodes show up in your newsfeed. We also have a really great plant community on Instagram that we would love for you to be part of. And lastly, huge thank you to rePotme.com for partnering up with me on this Houseplant Care 101 series. They have offered a discount code for Plant Life with Ashley and Nita viewers. It's Ashley, and you get 10% off any potting soil. I hope this was helpful and that you guys have a fabulous rest of the day. You will definitely be seeing me soon. Bye.